Okay. I'd like to call the Social Services Committee meeting to order. First, can we do a roll call?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fine,
Here.
Simpson,
Present.
Brewski,
Here,
Cleary.
here, present.
Cleary,
Here.
Smith,
Here.
Lockhart,
Here.
McLaughlin. Sorry about that. My kids are all getting home right
Here.
now. Curley
Here.
and Chapman. Norma, are you here? 9 present, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so first order of business, approving the previous meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion.
Moved.
Great. Is there a second? Was there a second there? Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Okay, on to the current business. Number 2, authorizing agreements with various Albany County municipalities for the provision of Youth Bureau services. Is this Commissioner McClade?
No,
Is this
Commissioner Manning.
Commissioner Manning? Okay, thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Fine. Good morning. Good afternoon. And Happy New Year to everyone, all the committee members. But the department would like to contract with 11 county municipalities for our Youth Bureau. This is for state aid funding that comes from OCFS in the amount of $379,859. And this would provide services to youth development programs for runaway and homeless youth.
Thank you. And are there any questions from the committee?
None at this time.
Motion to approve?
Move.
Motion.
Motion, second.
Second, Norma.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Okay, number 3, amending resolution number 103 for 2021 regarding Redlick Horowitz Foundation grant funding.
Thank you, Chairman Fine. Yes, the department respectfully requests authorization to amend the 2022 budget. We did receive this money from Redlick Horowitz in light of Families First legislation that was implemented. We have a remaining balance of $5,000, which we would want to transfer to 2022 and use it for subscriptions to Tableau, which is our tracking of youth that are entering care, so we can hit those milestones of achieving permanency. In addition, it helps us support kinship families, that families are taking in other family members, and maybe they need their house to be certified. So these are flexible fundings that we can use to maintain a child in a foster home or with kinship families and not disrupt a placement.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, I hear motion from Mr. Cleary and second from Ms. Chapman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Number 4, authorizing the acceptance of grant funding and an agreement regarding the Child Right Safe Harbor Initiative and amending the 2022 Department for Children, Youth and Families budget. Commissioner?
Thank you. We request to authorize the acceptance of grant funding for the Safe Harbor Initiative. This is really looking at our youth in the community that have been exploited sexually. We have really worked hard over the past several years to bring awareness to community members about, sexual exploitation is happening right in our backyard. So this funding from OCFS provides us $43,350. The money is for a part-time coordinator of the Safe Harbor, but all the rest of the money goes to help the youth, to really develop things that they have a safety net that they can go to. We give them bags that they have, like a safe net bag, and it has resources in it. So we're out in the community and really trying to hit the youth where they are. If that's at schools, if that's at the mall, we really want to protect these young children.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions from the committee?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair.
Do we have any statistics on what the sources of abuse are?
Basically, these, unfortunately, individuals are exploiting the children for money. They themselves could be sexually abusing them, or they could be, if you will, kind of pimping them out in the community. We've had a lot of incidents that have occurred along the corridor of Central Avenue in various motels, and we continue to work with law enforcement and other agencies to help identify these youth that may be running away and to put them in a safe place.
Is this the origin of the abuse? Is it family? Is it outside providers?
Oh, no, a lot of times these youth are, a lot of times run away, and they really don't have a lot of supports in their community. And unfortunately, they get, these men and women, I should say, who are perpetrators, oftentimes can really groom these young youth, knowing what to look for. The youth that is, by themselves, very shy, and they give them baubles, if you will, clothing, jewelry, just to get them to a place where then they can sexually take advantage of them.
Okay. Classic stuff. Okay.
Mhm.
Ms. McLaughlin?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How do you identify these young people? Are they referred to you, or is there some like a truant officer, so to speak, out there that's?
Yeah, well, we do a lot of screenings. So any of our voluntary agencies that provide residential treatment to our children, they are conducting these assessments upon admission. And if the child runs away from a facility, these are being completed as well. And of course, if a school district or someone in the community is concerned about a youth's behavior, maybe all of a sudden, and it's male and female, maybe they're coming in with brand new sneakers, $300. Where did you get that? You have no means of doing that. Maybe other people are hanging around the house or the neighborhood. So those are just warning signs that that's what we're doing in the community, is providing training on what to look for.
And are the young people, are they receptive to?
Some are, and unfortunately some aren't. And a lot of times we're getting, unfortunately, where we are located, we're the pipeway from, Canada down to New York City, and from Albany across to Buffalo. So a lot of times these are youth that are transient and really en route to somewhere else. So we're trying to do as much as education as we can in the community with providers, and especially law enforcement is definitely a key partner, local and state troopers.
Okay, thank you.
So are you able to get the children away from the source of abuse? And when you do, what do
A
you
lot
do?
of times
Where do you place them?
law enforcement would get involved, and then it would be dependent on the youth's age. We do have such programs as Captain or St. Anne's Crisis, their homeless shelter. And there's also Unity House that we utilized, or excuse me, Safe House, Safe Inc. in Schenectady. So there are other programs that can help us support while we're developing a plan for a short term. Because oftentimes these youth may be disengaged from their parents because maybe they're 17 and they want to stay out all night, and mom and dad are trying to put limits down. So oftentimes they are those youth that are running away.
And do they sometimes go into the foster care system?
Depending on the age, yes.
Okay. Are there other, Ms. Chapman, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was going to ask that question about the age. What is the youngest? Cause the youngest, will go into a foster care system? What if if they're not tracked or something? How do you know?
Typically, these youth are in the foster care system. But if they were identified and they were from Albany County, we would definitely be looking at family resources. If there were none and they were under the age of 18, we would be looking at setting up either a foster care, or if they're 17 going on 18, an independent living program, and wrap the resources around those youth. And that's where this grant also has some flex funding that we can support that youth if they need a phone, if they need to get out of a situation. A lot of times it doesn't happen overnight because these youth have been groomed by these perpetrators, that it does take time to build that rapport and that relationship.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions? Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion from Ms. Chapman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Ms. McLaughlin, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Passed unanimous. Okay, number 5, authorizing agreements regarding the Children's Advocacy Center.
Thank you. This is also grant funding from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services. The CAC is actually going to be, the term is February 1st of 2022 to September 30th, 2022. The reason for this being only an 8-month contract is that the New York State Office of Children and Family is going to align with federal grants. And federal grants, start on October 1st and then are for 12 months. So this is a little bit of a decrease in a grant award, but we had to base it on an 8-month period of time. So the grant award is $96,457. And this, we also are requesting approval to contract with crime victims, who provides a worker through the CAC and really assists the families, and also the Albany Police Department. Those are 2 really key members in the MDT, the multidisciplinary team, and that work to help children who have been traumatized. Just to note, our Safe Harbor coordinator is actually co-located as well down at CAC. So we're talking about that interface of children being eligible for foster care or aging out youth. That's really, we're looking at how they were victimized and have these resources wrapped around them.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? I want to ask, where's the Children's Advocacy Center located?
It's at 260 South Pearl Street. It's co-located with our Children's Mental Health Clinic.
Okay.
And that is the same complex as the Health and Mental Health Department.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Mr. Brewski, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Cleary, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Number 6, authorizing agreements regarding the expanded in-home services for the elderly program. Is this Commissioner McClave?
Yes, good evening.
Great.
Hope everyone's doing well and staying healthy. We're looking to continue agreements with 12 New York State approved providers to provide home care services through to support the ISIP program. And this is to help people with their activities of daily living and doing errands, cleaning the house, doing laundry, making meals, and helping them bathe, et cetera, depending on their level of need. So we enter into agreements. It's not, an RFP is not necessary because we enter into agreements with any qualified and available and willing provider for these services. So we have 12 that are willing to contract with us for next year.
Thank you. I see a question from Ms. McLaughlin.
Thank you. My question is, why is this not associated with elder care at all? I mean, it's for the elderly. That's why is this housed in Social Services Committee? Can you answer that for me?
Well, Social Services Committee or Social Services, the department?
Well, either way.
I can answer for the department. We are a subcontractor of the Office for Aging. So we're their provider. DSSX is their provider because we have the adult services unit, I assume. I
Okay.
can't answer the question on the committee though.
Yeah, whoever signed this to this committee, I think signed it to the wrong one. So But if I mean, that's my opinion. But I just, and if somebody can help me with that, Rebecca or
Or it was assigned to this committee solely because it was with the Department of Social Services. So all of Commissioner McClave's items typically come to this committee. So that was the sole reason. We certainly can explore further at a later date if that's appropriate in this instance.
Sometimes things are sent to two committees, right?
Mhm.
And I see it makes sense, I think, to send it here because it is social services, but it is also an elder care issue, I think.
yeah. I mean, I just like, because whenever I see the elderly, knowing that that I chair the elder committee, I would associate that with elder care committee. And I do understand the social service component of it, but I didn't see it on my committee agenda. All right, thank you. Long as it's handled.
Yeah.
Mr. Simpson?
Yeah, real quick, what part of the service population are victims of dementia?
The breakdown of who ISIP is serving have dementia. I don't have that.
Can we get it?
I don't know if we ask that question or if we assess for that question. Their home care needs are based on their activities of daily living requirements. I can find out if we ask that question. I don't know that we do, though.
Okay, I mean, I would suggest that maybe we should start, but that's something to be explored later.
Yeah, it should be medically we would look at their medical needs. So it might be in their chart. I don't know. We'd have to look and see if we actually record that.
Very good.
Are there any other questions? Okay, motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Bruschi, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Chapman, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimous. Okay, number 8 on the agenda, amending resolution number 2021 regarding the provision of kiosks for SNAP benefit applicants and recipients.
This is a request to continue a contract that we have with Nano Nation. It's a no cost extension of this contract. It's really turning out that this has been a little bit more complicated for the Division of Information Services and for New York State OTDA to figure out how to interface with each other because we have our firewall issue at the local level, and then they have an antiquated system that they're using. So they're working on figuring out how to make these two systems talk to each other, and it's just going to take a little bit longer for them to figure that out.
So we have a more advanced system than the state?
In regards to this particular service, our welfare management system is about 40 years old that the state uses. So yeah, it's very difficult for it to talk to a more current system.
And I know we've been discussing this for a while, but have we decided where the kiosks are going to go yet?
Not in the community yet. We haven't, we want to get the one out here in the office first and work out the kinks and then figure out kind of what we're going to need for support, because we're going to need support wherever it is in the community. It's got to be a place where somebody can help people to use it.
And how many are there going to be in the community in addition to the one?
We have two.
Two, okay. Are there any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mr. Cleary, second. Mr. Bruschi, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pass unanimous. Okay, that concludes our agenda, but I would just like to have a.
I have one more, I think.
Okay.
Do I have number 7, I think we missed.
Did we skip 7? I'm
I
sorry.
think so.
Okay.
You're making up time.
Now we're going to go back to number 7. And we're going to say, so number 7, authorizing an agreement with New York State Industries for the Disabled regarding ancillary laundry services for eligible individuals in the expanded in-home services for the elderly program. I think that's why, because I saw in-home services for the elderly, and that's
Yep. It's connected to the ISIP program. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a subcontract for the ISIP program with New York State Industries for the Disabled through Plaza Linens to do laundry for people who are enrolled in ISIP. So they come and pick up people's laundry, take it away, do the laundry, and bring it back. That helps some people who don't need a lot of other services, but can benefit from laundry services. And they're a New York State preferred provider, so there's no RFP required for this service.
Thank you. And I'm glad you brought that up, because if we had forgot it, we probably would have had to have a special meeting or something to pass it. So are there any questions from the committee? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion, Larry, second. Mr. Bruschi, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimous. Okay, so that includes everything on the agenda, but before we conclude, I would like to have a brief discussion, and I know that we are running late, so we won't go too long, but just about the pending eviction crisis that we're facing. And specifically, there's an issue where for the ERAP funding, people in public housing in Section 8 were put to the end of the list. And so a lot of them now are facing eviction. And, I know this isn't something directly that DSS deals with, but of course it's a social services kind of related issue. And a lot of the impacts when people do go, do get evicted, and when we have an increased homeless population, fall on DSS. So I think it's a important, discussion, important for, everyone here to understand, to, learn a little bit more about what's going on. And I just wanted to recognize Lauren Manning, who is here, has been doing a lot of research on this issue, to just speak a little bit about the situation that people are facing.
Hi, and thank you guys. I'll keep it brief. I know it's late. And Ms. McLaughlin, we've talked to her about it, and she's definitely supportive of what we're trying to do. But what we realized as soon as they released the ERAP applications was that there was a provision, and it's not federal, that said people on people who live in public housing or receive Section 8 will not even have their applications assessed for eligibility until the end. And we believe the error in that policy was based on the idea that many, not all, many public housing apartments are subsidized. So they're only paying 30% of their income to the rent. So there was probably the thought that if they lost income, their rent would have decreased. Usually there's a minimum of $50 of rent when you have zero income. However, the other eligibility criteria for all private renters was increased cost. They did not have to lose income. They just had to attest that they had increased costs. Many of the public housing residents, as we know, had increased daycare costs that were very informal. All of the certified daycares were shut down. You cannot bring informal daycare costs to housing and have your rent adjusted or lowered. You have to be able to provide a tax ID number for a provider or a social security number. Many people didn't have that because they were using grandma or auntie or their next door neighbor. Also, we just did general research about the increase of costs. Over the last year, food went up 8.1%, energy went up 33%. And many people in housing were afraid of CDTA. We were personally, as the Center for Law and Justice, providing Uber and Lyft vouchers. Many people in housing are predominantly Black and brown. Across the county, 63% are Black. In the city of Albany, 89% are Black. 27% are disabled across the county in the public housings, and 33% are children. $11.2 million at the end of December was given in ERAP funds to Albany County. Of that, only $175,000 was given to Albany Housing Authority specifically. They had 333 applications, but only 27 were approved before the money ran out. And even if the governor gets new money, they will still have their applications at the end of the line before they're even assessed. Many of the places, such as United Tenants, that do have funding require that they are the payer of last resort, which means these folks will have to go to social services first. And only if they're denied can they seek funding from like a United Tenants. Total, at least Albany Housing Authority, we have not been able to get the numbers from Waterville and Cohoes, is owed $3,051,000. But that is for 1,472 households that are pending eviction. 100 of those families are in court today and tomorrow. They are entering into repayment agreements, but we have several clients, for example, that have no income and they're paying $50 right now, but they still are entering into $100 extra a month as a payment agreement. When they default on those agreements, they are not brought back to court. It's breach of contract and the eviction is filed, the warrant, and they have 14 days to get out. We are asking that as members of the Social Services Committee, we believe that you will shoulder these costs through the shelter system, through DSS benefits, security deposits, moving trucks, you know, all of those things. People lose jobs when they become homeless. Again, there's 27% of the population is disabled. I don't even know what that would do to Albany County shelter system, and ERAP is not going to help these folks. We are looking at bigger systemic issues because we do think there may be a disparate impact issue because this is predominantly affecting Black folks. There's $2.4 billion statewide in this funding for rental assistance, but people in public housing in Section 8 can't access it. People older than me tell them it reminds them of the GI Bill, you know, so we are asking the county who will eventually shoulder these costs to use some of their ARP funding to help these residents out. I don't see any other organizations who can really handle it, not all 1,472 families. And again, it averages $2,073 an apartment, a family. You guys the county spends more than that in 1 month of shelter. So we've reached out to the county exec's office. We've reached out to a few of the council people we knew, but we thought as we were reaching out, we realized people weren't even aware that this was an issue or that so many families were facing eviction. So far, housing has filed 10 warrants and the eviction moratorium just was up on the 15th. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I believe housing has led people to believe there's not a crisis because they're allowing these repayment agreements, but all that means is people won't be homeless all at once. They'll trickle in over the course of the next couple months when they default on those agreements. And I would also like to point out that these increased costs aren't stopping. The city school district just closed down for 2 weeks. Once again, nobody I know can submit 2 weeks of daycare to housing. Their policy is any income change or family size change has to be 30 consecutive days. And they'd have to be able to report those costs. So if grandma says, no, you can't have my social security number, you're not getting any reduction in rent based on those costs. And this will not be the last time that the school district as a whole or particular whole schools shut down. Families will continue to see these burdens as COVID continues to rage. And I just think, you know, we have a responsibility to these most vulnerable families. 63% of Albany County public housing residents are labeled extremely low income. So most of them will more than likely be eligible for services if they become homeless.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Lauren. I wish we could have a longer conversation. I'm told we have to get going with the next committee meeting soon, but I just want to say, I think that's really helpful. I think it's important for all of us to understand, you know, the crisis we're facing, so that when we're making decisions about what to do about it, I think it is really important that we put whatever funding we can towards trying to stop the a crisis from happening. I do see that Ms. McLaughlin has a question or a comment.
Yes, thank you, Laura. That was very informative of the state of things that we're in right now. And I really, if the commissioner from social services is still here, does she in any way think that we are able to handle a crisis such as this? Should there be an onslaught of people that are coming to request additional services? Are we equipped? Do we have the capacity to deal with that? That's a question that I have. And also, just for a general comment to the committee, where do we see resources coming to address this? I mean, I know that there was a letter sent from the community advocates advocating for support to the county executive, asking that some of the ARPA money be allocated to address this issue. And I think that I know we haven't begun to talk about ARPA money at the committee level, but I think that this should certainly be at the top of the list as we begin that conversation. Thank you. Thank you, Laura, very much.
Commissioner, can you comment on Ms. McLaughlin's question?
Yeah, it is definitely a long conversation that we should probably have, but basically we're very worried. We're very concerned. And as Lauren said, we don't necessarily expect it to happen as a floodgate of 1,500 people all at once at our doors, but it will be a consistent, probably for months. For months, people could consistently be, and not just through Housing Authority. It's going to be other landlords as well who don't get ERAP. So we've seen an uptick in people coming in for evictions in general, not the flood that we thought might happen so far. But again, it's going to be a trickle, and it's going to be, right now we have a triple threat. We have the eviction moratorium lifted, we have COVID, and we have Code Blue. So our shelters are fairly tight right now. They're very, very full in general. And so are the motels that we use. So we're managing every day, but we're working with legal aid, United Tenants, some of our other providers to try to keep the flow slow so that we're not inundated. That's one of the things we're looking at trying to do. And they're also, legal aid has methods for delaying a lot of this. And we're hopeful the Housing Authority will talk and negotiate and not really want to evict all these people, that they're going to be willing to work with people. That we're actually planning to request a meeting with the Housing Authority and discuss kind of how this could potentially be slowed down or stopped. But I know they have their rules, and they're, the only good thing, there's no good thing really, but there'll be more openings. So we'll be moving people into public housing too. So, I mean, it's just this mass movement potentially that could happen.
Can I I'm sorry, Mr. Simpson, but for me, that's a bad thing, because understanding that many of these marginalized, previously redlined community members were pushed into public housing over decades, they passed these apartments down through generations. Mom finally gets income stable, her kids are 18, she takes herself off the lease and leaves the adult kids on. So, we need more housing, not just to move people out to make space.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I am told that the other meeting is waiting for us. So I'm sorry, Mert, I know you have a question, but I think what we'll do is we'll set up another conversation to further this discussion. But I want to just thank everyone. Lauren, thank you so much for coming to the meeting and explaining how important this issue is to everyone. And we'll wrap up now. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion from Mr. Bruschi. Do we have a second? Second, Mr. Hurley. All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Now we can all get over to the Conservation Green Initiative.
Mr. Chairman, do we just stay on this line if we're in the